Hello, today we're going to be doing LeetCode problem 170, which is TwoSum 3, data structure design. This problem states, design a data structure that accepts a stream of integers and checks if it has a pair of integers that sums up to a particular value. Okay, so we need to implement the TwoSum class. A TwoSum will initialize the TwoSum object with an empty array initially. The void add int number adds the number to the data structure, and the boolean find that value returns true if there exists any pair of numbers whose sums equal to the value, otherwise it returns false. Example 1 here. So the first stream of integers is twoSum.add, find, and this is what's going to pass in as well. So there's nothing when we instantiate TwoSum, then we're going to add the 1, the 3, the 5, and then we're going to see if these first three numbers add to 4 and add to 7. So you've got 3 adds and a find and a find. And here it explains it in detail. Instantiate TwoSum, add the 1, add the 3, and add the 5. So the array is 1, 3, 5, and then we do a find. 1 plus 3 equals 4, so we return true, but there is no combination of numbers that equals 7. We've got 1 plus 3 is 4, 1 plus 5 is 6, and 3 plus 5 is 8. So that will return false. So the first thing I'm going to do is create the list. Make that private, I'll name it list, and that's just going to hold the numbers. Now we're going to compare that to a hash map. So I will create the hash map. Call it map. It is of type integer and integer. So we don't really need to do anything in the constructor. So what we're going to do is in the add method, we're going to go ahead and see if the map contains the number. So the map contains the number, well then we don't want to overwrite it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that number. So we're going to put the number, but we're going to get the existing number because it contains the key. And then we're going to add 1 so it doesn't overwrite it. And that is, I'll clean this up a bit. All right. Else, if it doesn't contain the number, we're just going to add it. Map put, and then we're going to add the number, and then position 1. And then, because we're comparing the map to the list, we also need to add it to the list. We don't need to add duplicates to the list, so that's why we only add to the list in the else statement when the number doesn't exist. And that's pretty much it for the add method. Now, for the find method, we're going to iterate through the list that we created. Now, for the find method, we're going to iterate through that list. So int equals 0, I is less than list size. And increment I. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is define, I'll call it num1, is going to be list. So we're just going to get the value, the first list, or the value of I. So in the first case, I is 0, so we're going to get the first number in the list. Now, we're going to create another int called num2, and that is basically going to take whatever value we passed in the example we're using 4, and we're going to subtract num1 from it. So this is actually none. Let's raise Catholic. Num2 is value minus num1. So this is the value that we're looking for to exist in the list. So now here is the meat of the find statement. Basically, this is what our algorithm is going to be. So while we're in the loop, if num1 is equal to num2, so that's pretty easy, and we do a map.get of num1, make sure it's greater than 1. We don't need to find the key because num1 is equal to num2, so if num1 is in the list, then num2 obviously is in the list. Or num1 is not equal to num2, so then we have to check that the map contains the key num2. So if the map has num2 in it, well then we found an answer, and so we return true. And that is the end of the for loop. And then if none of that is true, then we return false. Let's run that. All right. Looks like it was successful. First we define the list and the map. Move this over. Okay. If map contains key, which it doesn't, so we're going to put that in there. So the map now contains number 1. And we're going to go through this, do another add, adds the 3, and adds the 5. Okay. So now we're doing the find. So we're going to go through list size. Int1, we'll get that first value. And so now we're doing basically num2 is num1 minus the value. So the value is 4. Num1 is 1. So we're looking for 3. If num1, blah, blah. And so it does. So return true. Now we're doing the value passed in is the 7. So num1 is let's get. So num1 equals the 1. And num2 is 7 minus 1, which was 6. So that is not there. Num1 is not equal to num2, and num1, and map contains key num2 is not in the map. And so, just go on to the next. Still the value of 7. Now this get is 3, so num1 is equal to 3. Now we're going to do 7 minus 3, which is 4, which is not list. And finally, we're doing 5. So 1, 3, and 5. So 7 minus 5 is 2. And 2 is not part of the 1, 3, 5 list. And that's it. So we're just going to return false. And that's the answer. Submit. And there we have it. Beats 86% of the users. So that's it. Hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time.